A German shepherd refused to give birth. Then the vet checked her belly and froze. What should have been a normal surgery turned into a nightmare. Inside the dog, there were no puppies, just something so horrifying the vet could barely breathe. In that moment, she realized this wasn't just an emergency. It was a trap. And the man who brought the dog in, he wasn't desperate. He was dangerous. But the worst part, he knew exactly how to break her, by threatening the one thing she couldn't afford to lose. What was inside the dog? And how far would one mother go to protect everything she loves? You being here is a reminder. The quiet acts of love and kindness still matter. If you hold space for compassion, you're already part of this community. Vanessa's hands trembled as she stared down at the surgical opening she had just made in Mac's swollen abdomen. Instead of the wet, dark shapes of puppies she expected to find, her eyes fixed on dozens of tightly wrapped packages, each sealed in clear, waterproof material. The stark fluorescent lights of the operating room glinted off the plastic surfaces, making the grotesque sight even more surreal. "Dear God," she whispered, her surgical mask catching the words. Her heart pounded against her ribs as the full reality of what she was seeing sank in. These weren't just any packages, they were clearly filled with illegal drugs. Her stomach churned at the thought of what Max had endured, having these foreign objects surgically planted inside her body. Behind her, Wade Morrison cleared his throat. "Everything okay in there, Doc?" His voice carried a dangerous edge that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. Vanessa forced herself to keep her voice steady. "Just checking something. These complications are more serious than I thought." She could feel Wade's presence looming in the doorway of the operating room, watching her every move. Her mind raced as she tried to think clearly through the fog of fear. Max lay unconscious on the table, her vital signs steady on the monitor, while Vanessa's world crumbled around her. She had to make a decision, and fast. Through the open door, she could hear Chloe moving around in the front office, humming softly as she filed paperwork. The sound of her daughter's innocent presence made Vanessa's heart clench. Whatever she did next would affect not just her, but Chloe too. "Need any help?" Wade's boots scraped against the floor as he took a step closer. "No," Vanessa said too quickly, then forced herself to soften her tone. "No, thank you. Medical protocol. Need to maintain a sterile environment." She kept her eyes focused on the surgical site, pretending to examine it closely, while her mind whirled with possibilities. The packages filled most of Mac's abdominal cavity, carefully arranged to avoid vital organs. Whoever had done this knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't amateur work. The thought made her sick. How many other animals had suffered this same fate? The steady beep of the heart monitor seemed to grow louder in her ears as she realized the full scope of what she'd stumbled into. Wade Morrison, respected rancher and pillar of their small community, was using innocent animals to smuggle drugs. The kind face he showed to the world was just a mask hiding something dark and twisted. Vanessa's fingers clenched around her surgical instruments as rage mixed with her fear. She thought of all the times Wade had brought animals to her clinic, always paying in cash, always insisting on privacy. How many other vets had he fooled? How many other animals had he tortured for profit? She glanced at the clock on the wall. Max had been under anesthesia for 15 minutes now. She needed to act, but one wrong move could put both her and Chloe in terrible danger. Wade wasn't the type to leave loose ends. "Looks like this might take longer than I thought," she called out, keeping her voice professional despite her racing pulse. "You might want to come back later." "I think I'll stay," Wade replied smoothly. "Max means a lot to me. Want to make sure she pulls through." The underlying threat in his words was clear. Vanessa's hands were steady as she continued to work, muscle memory taking over while her mind searched desperately for a way out of this nightmare. She had proof of his crimes literally laid out before her, but she was also trapped in a small room with a man she now knew was capable of unspeakable cruelty. Through the window, she could see the sun setting over the Montana mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Just an hour ago, her biggest worry had been how to pay this month's bills. Now she was caught in the middle of something far more dangerous than financial troubles. The heart monitor continued its steady rhythm as Max slept peacefully, unaware of the drama unfolding around her. Vanessa looked down at the loyal German shepherd's face, seeing past the surgical drapes to the gentle soul that trusted humans despite all the pain they had caused her. In that moment, Vanessa knew she couldn't just close Max up and pretend she hadn't seen anything. Whatever happened next, she had to find a way to stop this. For Max, for all the other animals who couldn't speak for themselves, and for her daughter who believed in doing what was right, no matter how hard it might be. But first, she had to find a way to get herself and Chloe out of this situation alive. Wade Morrison was still watching her every move, waiting to see what she would do next. The weight of the decision pressed down on her like a physical thing as she stood there, surgical instruments in hand, trying to find a path forward that wouldn't end in disaster. The surgical room door creaked open wider as Wade's boots clicked against the linoleum floor. Vanessa's heart skipped a beat as she looked up from the operating table to find his previously friendly expression replaced by something cold and calculating. The transformation in his demeanor was instant and chilling. "Well, well," Wade said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Looks like we have ourselves a situation here, Doc." He moved closer, positioning himself between Vanessa and the door. His tall frame cast a long shadow across Max's unconscious form. "These little packages weren't meant for your eyes." He ran a finger along the surgical opening where the drugs were exposed. "But since you've seen them, we might as well have an honest conversation about how this is going to go." Vanessa's throat went dry. "Wade, Let me explain how this works," he cut her off, his blue eyes now glacial. "I run a very profitable operation across the Canadian border. These veterinary emergencies, they're my pickup schedule. Different vets, different towns, different animals, but always the same valuable cargo." He gestured at the packages visible in Max's abdomen. "Usually goes nice and smooth until someone gets too curious." Through the open door, Vanessa could hear Chloe's footsteps in the hallway. Wade noticed her attention shift and smiled, a predator's smile that never reached his eyes. "Sweet girl, you're Chloe," he said softly. "Smart too. Gets that from her mom, I expect. Would be a real shame if anything happened to her. Lots of dangers out there for a teenage girl. Accidents, disappearances. Montana's a big state with lots of empty spaces." The threat hung in the air between them. Vanessa's hands clenched around her surgical instruments, knuckles white with tension. She thought of Chloe, innocent and unaware, just outside these walls. Her daughter's safety had to come first. "What do you want from me?" Vanessa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Simple. You're going to carefully remove those packages. And I mean carefully. Each one's worth more than you make in a year." Wade moved closer, watching over her shoulder. "Then you're going to close up my dog, nice and professional. After that, you're going to forget everything you've seen today." He leaned in, his breath hot against her ear. "And if you ever think about talking to anyone, police, FBI, even your ex-husband, just remember how easily accidents can happen. To anyone." Vanessa forced herself to breathe steadily as she turned back to the operating table. With trembling fingers that she willed to be steady, she began the delicate process of removing the drug packages one by one. Each was precisely wrapped in waterproof material, professionally sealed to protect the contents. The clinical precision of it all made her stomach turn. "Careful with the blue ones," Wade instructed, watching each movement. "Those are special orders, worth double." His casual tone made it clear this was routine for him. Just another business transaction involving innocent animals? As she worked, Vanessa's mind raced through the implications. How many other veterinarians had been forced into silence? How many animals had suffered through these surgeries? The scope of Wade's operation must be massive to support this level of organization. "Once you're done, give her a full course of antibiotics," Wade continued. "Can't have her getting an infection before the next run. And make sure those sutures are tight. She needs to heal clean." The specific medical instructions confirmed Vanessa's fears. This wasn't Wade's first operation. He knew exactly what was needed to keep his animal drug mules alive and useful. The thought made bile rise in her throat. Package after package emerged from Mac's abdomen. Vanessa placed them carefully in the sterile tray Wade provided, her medical training warring with her horror at being forced to participate in this cruel scheme. All the while, she could hear Chloe moving around the clinic, completely unaware of the danger just feet away. "You're doing great, Doc," Wade said, his tone almost friendly again. "Just remember, one word about this to anyone, and your daughter pays the price. I've got eyes everywhere in Pine Ridge. You won't know when it's coming, but it will come." Vanessa nodded mutely, her mind already working through possibilities. She would appear to comply. She had to, for Chloe's sake. But somehow, some way, she would find a means to expose Wade's operation. She just had to be smart about it, patient, careful. For now, though, she focused on saving Max, meticulously closing the surgical site as Wade watched her every move. The German Shepherd's steady heartbeat on the monitor was a reminder of all the innocent lives at stake, both animal and human. Whatever came next, Vanessa knew she had stumbled into something far darker than she could have imagined, and there would be no easy way out. As Wade left with his precious cargo, Vanessa's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She steadied herself against the operating table, watching Max's chest rise and fall under anesthesia. The moment Wade's truck rumbled away, she sprang into action. "Chloe, honey," she called out, "could you get the recovery blankets from the storage room?" While her daughter was occupied, Vanessa quickly pulled out her phone. Her fingers trembled as she photographed the surgical site, capturing clear images of the residual surgical alterations that proved drugs had been implanted. She documented everything: the specific suture pattern Wade had requested, the unique surgical modifications, and the precise locations where the packages had been placed. Over the next few days, Vanessa maintained a careful facade of normalcy while tending to Mac's recovery. The German Shepherd's gentle eyes held such trust despite everything she'd endured. During checkups, Vanessa took more photographs, documenting the dog's healing process and gathering evidence of the sophisticated surgical techniques used. Late at night, after Chloe was asleep, Vanessa researched how to safely contact law enforcement. She couldn't risk going to local police. In a small town like Pine Ridge, Wade's influence could run deep. She needed someone with federal authority and resources. Her breakthrough came when she discovered an article about a Drug Enforcement Administration operation against animal trafficking. The piece mentioned Agent Nathan Chen, whose canine partner had been poisoned during a raid. Something about his story resonated with her. Here was someone who understood the brutal reality of using animals as drug mules. Making contact required careful planning. Vanessa used a burner phone purchased 2 towns over, calling from different locations to avoid detection. When she finally reached Agent Chen, his initial response was guarded, even suspicious. "Dr. Hartwell," he said, his voice professional, but distant. "You understand these are serious allegations. We need to consider the possibility that you're involved in this operation." "I expected that," Vanessa replied steadily. "That's why I documented everything." She described the photos she'd taken, offering details only a veterinarian would know about the surgical procedures involved. They arranged a secure meeting at a diner just outside Missoula. Agent Chen was younger than Vanessa expected, his athletic build and kind brown eyes at odds with her image of a hardened federal agent. But when he reviewed her evidence, his professional demeanor cracked slightly. "These surgical modifications," he said, zooming in on one photo, "they're identical to what we found in other cases." His hands tightened around his coffee cup. "Including my partner's case." "Your canine partner?" Vanessa asked gently. Nathan nodded, his expression darkening. "Rex. He was more than just a partner. We'd worked together for 6 years before that raid." He paused, collecting himself. The traffickers had poisoned him with a delayed-release toxin. By the time we realized what was happening, it was too late. "I'm so sorry," Vanessa said softly, understanding now why he'd chosen to pursue this case. "Since then, I've been tracking these operations across state lines. Your evidence confirms what we suspected. This is much bigger than isolated incidents." Nathan pulled out a map, pointing to marked locations across Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. Wade's network uses a sophisticated system of veterinary clinics and legitimate pet owners as unwitting carriers. "The surgical techniques require extensive medical knowledge," Vanessa added, examining the map. "Wade must have corrupt veterinarians working with him. The procedures I saw were too professional to be done by amateurs." Nathan nodded grimly. "We estimate they're moving millions in drugs using this method. The animals are perfect cover. Who questions someone taking their pet to the vet?" He looked at Vanessa intently. "Your evidence could help us break this open. But it's dangerous. Wade's already threatened your daughter." "I know," Vanessa said, thinking of Chloe. "But I can't just let this continue. These animals can't speak for themselves. Someone has to stop this." "We'll protect you both," Nathan assured her, his professional demeanor softening. "Your expertise could be crucial in identifying other compromised clinics and saving more animals." As they pored over case files and maps, Vanessa felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She was no longer alone in this fight. In Nathan, she'd found someone who understood both the professional and personal stakes, someone equally committed to bringing Wade's operation down. "We'll need to move carefully," Nathan explained, outlining their next steps. "Wade's network is sophisticated, and he's clearly got connections we don't know about yet. But with your evidence and my resources, we can start dismantling this operation piece by piece." Vanessa nodded, thinking of Max recovering back at her clinic. "Whatever it takes," she said firmly. "These animals deserve justice." Over the next 2 weeks, Vanessa lived 2 lives. By day, she was the skilled veterinarian Wade relied on to extract his drug packages. By night, she documented everything for Nathan, photographing each animal and procedure with trembling hands. The parade of suffering animals broke her heart. A limping golden retriever arrived with a swollen belly full of heroin packets. An elderly husky, barely able to walk, carried cocaine beneath careful stitches. Each time, Wade watched her work with cold eyes, making sure she followed his exact instructions. "Careful with those stitches, Doc," he would say, his voice carrying hidden threats. "We wouldn't want any complications." Vanessa maintained her composure, but inside she was screaming. These animals trusted humans to care for them, not use them as disposable drug carriers. She treated each one with extra gentleness, documenting their conditions while pretending to check vital signs. One evening, after sending her findings to Nathan, she broke down in her office. The weight of what she witnessed became too heavy to bear. Her phone buzzed, a text from Nathan. "You're doing great. We're making progress tracking the veterinary connections. Stay strong." His support helped, but Wade was getting sharper, more observant. He noticed when she spent too long examining an animal or asked too many questions about their origins. "You seem awful interested in where these dogs come from," he said one afternoon, his blue eyes boring into her. "Remember our arrangement, Doctor? Hartwell, curiosity isn't healthy in our line of work." Vanessa forced a neutral expression. "I'm just being thorough. We can't afford complications." But Wade's surveillance increased. He started showing up at unexpected times, watching her through the clinic windows. Worse, he began dropping casual comments about Chloe. "Saw your girl at the high school today," he mentioned while she worked on a sedated Rottweiler. "She's doing well in her classes, I hear. Chemistry, right? Second period?" Vanessa's hands froze for a split second before continuing their work. The message was clear. He was watching Chloe too. Her daughter's safety had always been the stakes, but now the threat felt immediate, suffocating. She called Nathan that night from a burner phone, her voice shaking. "He's watching Chloe at school. I can't let anything happen to her." "We've got eyes on both of you," Nathan assured her. "But we need more time to trace all the connections. These surgical techniques point to someone with extensive veterinary training. The next morning, Wade arrived with another German Shepherd. The dog's distended belly told the familiar story. As Vanessa prepared for surgery, she noticed something in the preliminary x-rays that made her blood run cold. The surgical modifications were distinctive, a particular way of creating space for the packages, specific suture patterns she'd seen before. Not just seen, learned. These were techniques taught at her veterinary school by a specific surgeon, one known for his innovative approaches. Her mind raced back to conversations with fellow students, with professors. Who among them could be working with Wade? The surgical work was too precise, too professional to be self-taught. Someone with years of training was behind these procedures. Wade interrupted her thoughts, looming over her shoulder. Something interesting in those x-rays, Doc. Just confirming placement before we begin, she said smoothly, but her heart hammered. She'd stared too long, shown too much recognition. You know, Wade said casually, leaning against the wall, I've been thinking you spend an awful lot of time studying these cases, almost like you're looking for something specific. Vanessa kept her voice steady as she prepared the anesthesia. I need to be thorough, unless you want complications from rushed work. Wade's smile didn't reach his eyes. No, we certainly don't want that. Just like we don't want any complications with Chloe's nice, safe school day, or her after-school veterinary volunteering. She's so dedicated, helping sick animals. Would be a shame if anything happened to change that. The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Vanessa focused on her surgical prep, hiding how her hands shook. She had to be more careful. Wade's suspicions were growing, and she still didn't know the identity of his surgical contact. But those familiar techniques nagged at her mind, filling her with increasing dread. Who among her old colleagues was capable of this systematic torture of innocent animals? And how long could she maintain this dangerous balancing act before Wade's suspicions turned to certainty? Nathan's voice crackled through Vanessa's burner phone, heavy with urgency. I need you sitting down for this, Vanessa. She sank into her office chair, her fingers tight around the phone. The sun was setting outside her clinic window, painting the Montana sky in shades of orange and pink. What did you find? We traced the surgical modifications through veterinary records, Nathan said. The technique matches a specific surgeon who's been operating at high-end pet clinics in resort towns across 3 states. Vanessa's throat went dry. Who is it? Doctor. James Hartwell. The name hit her like a physical blow. Her ex-husband, the father of her child, the man whose greed and selfishness had driven their marriage apart. Now she understood why those surgical techniques had seemed so familiar. She had watched James perform them countless times during their marriage. Oh God, she whispered, her free hand covering her mouth. All those innovative procedures he claimed to develop. He was perfecting ways to hide drug packages in animals. He's been using his reputation as cover, Nathan confirmed. Rich clients, expensive clinics, perfect camouflage for Wade's operation. No one questions a renowned surgeon. Memories flooded back. James's unexplained income, his frequent travels to resort towns, his dismissive attitude toward her concerns about their finances. She had divorced him because of his narcissism and greed, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. My daughter's father is torturing animals for drug money, she said, her voice breaking. I knew he was selfish, but this... Vanessa, listen to me. Nathan's voice softened with concern. This makes your situation even more dangerous. If Wade realizes you're James's ex-wife. A sharp knock interrupted them. Vanessa's heart stopped as Wade Morrison pushed open her office door without waiting for a response. His cold blue eyes fixed on her phone. Interesting conversation, Doctor. Hartwell? He asked, his calm tone carrying lethal undertones. Vanessa's thumb hit the end call button, but it was too late. Wade's expression told her he had heard enough. You know, he said, closing the door behind him. I've been wondering why a DEA agent named Nathan Chen has been asking questions around town. He moved closer, like a predator stalking prey. Imagine my surprise when my security cameras caught you meeting him behind the grocery store last week. Vanessa's mind raced. The cameras? How had they missed the cameras? She forced herself to meet Wade's gaze, fighting to keep her voice steady. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult my intelligence. Wade's facade of politeness vanished. You've been feeding information to the DEA. The only question is how much they know about our operation. He leaned over her desk, his hands flat on its surface. And now I hear you talking about James. Tell me, does it hurt knowing your ex-husband is so much smarter than you? That he saw the opportunity you were too self-righteous to take? James was always good at justifying his choices, Vanessa said, anger giving her strength. No matter who they hurt. Wade's laugh was cold. Speaking of hurt, he pulled out his phone, showing her a photo that made her blood freeze. It was Chloe, taken that afternoon, walking home from school. Your daughter's such a creature of habit. Same route every day, same schedule. So predictable. If you touch her, Vanessa started, half rising from her chair. You'll what? Wade cut her off. Call your DEA friend? That would be unfortunate for Chloe. Very unfortunate. He straightened up, adjusting his jacket. You're going to keep working, Dr. Hartwell. But from now on, you'll have company. 24 hours a day. One wrong move, one hint to law enforcement. He let the threat hang in the air. Vanessa sat frozen as Wade walked to the door. He paused, turning back with a cruel smile. Oh, and I'll be letting James know about your little DEA connection. I'm sure he'll be very interested in discussing it with his ex-wife. The door closed behind him with a final click. Vanessa's hands shook as she pulled out her burner phone, desperate to warn Nathan, but the screen showed only static. Wade must have activated a signal jammer. She was alone now, trapped between Wade's threats and James's betrayal, with her daughter's safety hanging by a thread. Her ex-husband's involvement had transformed this from a criminal investigation into something deeply personal, validating every instinct that had led her to divorce him. Somewhere in the clinic, she heard Wade's heavy boots on the tile floor, her new shadow, making sure she understood that her every move would be watched. The sky outside had darkened to deep purple, matching the growing darkness of her situation. The morning bell hadn't even rung at Pine Ridge High School when Vanessa's phone lit up with a text message. Her hands trembled as she opened it, a video from Wade showing Chloe bound and gagged in what looked like a storage room, tears streaming down her face. Final job tonight, Wade's message read. Warehouse on Old Mill Road. 12 animals need packages removed. Come alone at 8 o'clock or she dies. Vanessa's knees buckled. She grabbed her desk to steady herself, her breath coming in short gasps. She hit Nathan's number on her burner phone, praying the signal jammers weren't active. They took her, she choked out when he answered. Wade has Chloe. Where? Nathan's voice was sharp with urgency. Some warehouse. He wants me to do extractions on 12 animals tonight. Her voice cracked. It's a trap, Nathan. He knows I've been helping you. We'll get her back, Nathan promised. This could be our chance to catch him with enough evidence to put him away for good. The warehouse will have all his operation in one place. He'll be expecting law enforcement, Vanessa said, pacing her office. He's not stupid. No, but he's desperate. His network is crumbling. We've already arrested 3 of his veterinary contacts. Nathan paused. Including your ex-husband. Under other circumstances, knowing James was in custody might have brought satisfaction. Right now, all Vanessa could think about was Chloe's terrified face in that video. I have to go in, she said. He'll kill her if I don't. I know, but you won't be alone. I'm coordinating with SWAT right now. We'll have teams positioned around the warehouse. The day crawled by in a haze of fear and planning. At 7:45 in the evening, Vanessa pulled up to the warehouse in her clinic truck. The building loomed against the darkening sky, its metal walls reflecting the last rays of sunset. Her medical bag felt heavy as she approached the side door. Two of Wade's men searched her roughly for weapons or wires before shoving her inside. The warehouse interior hit her like a physical blow. Rows of cages lined the walls, filled with whimpering animals in various stages of surgical recovery. Dogs, cats, even exotic pets lay in their own filth, surgical scars visible on their bellies. The scale of Wade's operation struck her with horrifying clarity. "Welcome to the operation you've been so curious about." Wade's voice echoed through the space. He emerged from the shadows, dragging Chloe with him. Her daughter's hands were tied, but her eyes blazed with a mixture of fear and defiance that made Vanessa's heart swell with pride. "Mom, don't!" Chloe started, but Wade yanked her back. 12 animals need attention," Wade said, gesturing to a makeshift surgical area. "Get to work. Any sign of law enforcement? Any attempt to signal them?" He pressed a gun to Chloe's temple. Vanessa moved to the first cage, fighting to keep her hands steady. She could see laser dots from security systems crisscrossing the warehouse. Armed men patrolled the catwalks above. Wade had prepared for every contingency. "Your surgical suite awaits," Wade said with mock politeness. "And don't worry about being interrupted. My men have some interesting surprises planned for any uninvited guests." Vanessa looked at the suffering animals, at her brave daughter, at the monster holding them all hostage. She thought of Nathan and his SWAT teams waiting outside, knowing they were walking into a trap, but willing to risk it anyway. The warehouse was a powder keg of criminal evidence, animal abuse, and deadly intentions. She opened her medical bag, removing her surgical gloves. The first animal was a golden retriever, its trusting eyes clouded with pain. Whatever happened next, these innocent creatures deserved better than being used as drug mules. She had to buy time for Nathan's team while keeping Chloe safe. "Well?" Wade prompted, his gun still trained on Chloe. "Those packages won't remove themselves." Vanessa snapped on her gloves, silently praying that Nathan had a plan to get them all out alive. The warehouse's security measures hummed ominously in the background as she prepared for the first extraction, knowing every move she made could mean life or death for her daughter. Wade's men took up positions around the surgical area, weapons ready. Through the warehouse's high windows, night was falling over Montana. Somewhere out there, law enforcement was preparing to breach the building. But in here, surrounded by tortured animals and armed criminals, Vanessa could only focus on keeping her daughter alive 1 minute at a time. Wade's grip tightened on Chloe's arm as he dragged her toward the rows of cages. "Time for a choice, Doctor," he sneered, pressing the gun harder against Chloe's temple. "These animals need immediate medical attention." "But your daughter?" He yanked Chloe roughly. "She needs her mother. You can't save both." Vanessa's heart pounded as she looked between her terrified daughter and the suffering animals. A German shepherd whimpered in pain, its surgical wounds clearly infected. Other animals lay listless in their cages, desperately needing care. "Mom, help them," Chloe said, her voice trembling but determined. "Don't let him win." Wade laughed coldly. "Such bravery. But can Mommy really watch you die for some mangy mutts?" Vanessa's hand tightened around her surgical tray. Years of veterinary work had taught her exactly where to find vulnerable pressure points, how much force would cause unconsciousness versus serious harm. She noticed Wade's men growing distracted by movement outside. Nathan's teams getting into position. "You're right about one thing," Vanessa said, slowly reaching for a sedative-filled syringe. "I am a doctor." In one fluid motion, she whirled and plunged the needle into the nearest guard's neck. He crumpled instantly. Before the others could react, she flung surgical instruments with deadly accuracy. Scalpels embedding in hands holding guns, forceps striking pressure points. Chaos erupted as SWAT teams burst through windows and doors. Wade's men scattered, returning fire. Vanessa grabbed Chloe and pulled her behind an overturned surgical table. "Stay down," she ordered, then darted toward the cages. Her fingers flew over locks and latches, releasing animals even as bullets whizzed past. These creatures had suffered enough. She wouldn't leave them to die in crossfire. A familiar bark caught her attention. Max, fully recovered from her surgery, bounded from her opened cage. The German Shepherd's eyes locked onto Wade as he tried to escape through a back door. She gave a commanding bark that echoed through the warehouse. Other freed dogs responded, falling in behind Max like a coordinated pack. Wade fired wildly as the animals surrounded him, but Max was too quick. She lunged, powerful jaws clamping onto his gun arm. The weapon clattered to the floor as other dogs circled, growling. "No!" Wade screamed, as the animals he'd tortured now became his captors. He tried to break free, but found himself pinned against the wall, surrounded by bared teeth and blazing eyes. Vanessa rushed to free more animals while Nathan and his team secured the warehouse. Her medical training guided every movement, which animals needed immediate care, how to safely transport the injured, proper doses of pain medication. The skills that had made her a target now helped her save lives. "Mom!" Chloe called out, pointing to a cage where a small terrier lay unmoving. Vanessa quickly examined the dog, finding a faint pulse. Her fingers moved automatically, administering emergency treatment while bullets still flew overhead. One by one, she stabilized the critical cases. "Clear!" Nathan's voice rang out as the last of Wade's men surrendered. SWAT teams moved through the warehouse, securing prisoners and evidence. Max maintained her guard over Wade until officers approached with handcuffs. The German Shepherd gave one final warning growl before backing away, returning to Vanessa's side. "You okay?" Nathan asked, reaching them. Vanessa nodded, hugging Chloe close while continuing to check animals. "We need transport for at least 20 critical cases. These animals need immediate veterinary care." "Already coordinated with emergency animal services," Nathan assured her. "They're setting up a triage center outside." Wade struggled against his restraints as officers led him past. "You think this changes anything?" he spat. "There will always be others willing to." Max's thunderous bark cut him off. Wade flinched, his false bravado crumbling before the animal he tortured. "Get him out of here," Nathan ordered. He turned to Vanessa with admiration. "You just helped bring down one of the largest animal trafficking operations we've seen. Those surgical skills of yours make you one hell of an ally." Vanessa managed a tired smile, watching emergency veterinary teams stream in to help the rescued animals. Her daughter was safe. The animals would receive proper care. Her medical knowledge, the very thing Wade had tried to exploit, had become the key to his downfall. Max pressed against her leg, tail wagging. The German Shepherd's transformation from victim to hero seemed to represent all they'd accomplished. Together, they had turned medicine and compassion into weapons against cruelty. "Come on," Vanessa said, gathering supplies to help the incoming medical teams. "We've still got lives to save." The federal courthouse buzzed with activity as agents led Wade Morrison through the crowded hallway in handcuffs. His once commanding presence had diminished, replaced by the haunted look of a man facing decades behind bars. Vanessa watched from a bench, Max sitting alertly by her side, as the man who had terrorized so many innocent creatures shuffled past in his orange jumpsuit. "The evidence is overwhelming," Nathan said, settling next to her with 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Vanessa. "Between your documentation and the warehouse raid, the prosecutors have everything they need. The whole network is going down." As if to emphasize his point, another commotion erupted at the courthouse entrance. Vanessa's breath caught as she recognized the tall figure being escorted in by federal marshals. James Hartwell, her ex-husband, looking considerably less polished than during his days as a celebrated surgeon. "Dr. James Hartwell," a reporter called out, shoving a microphone forward. "How do you respond to allegations that you used your medical expertise to surgically implant drugs in animals?" James tried to turn away, but cameras flashed from every angle. His carefully crafted reputation was crumbling in real time. Gone was the arrogant surgeon who had belittled Vanessa's veterinary career. In his place stood a disgraced man whose true character had finally been exposed. "The medical board has already suspended his license pending criminal proceedings," Nathan explained quietly. Every veterinary partnership he was involved with is under investigation. His career is effectively over. Vanessa felt no joy in James's downfall, only a deep sense of validation. She had seen through his facade years ago, recognized the selfishness and moral bankruptcy that had driven her to end their marriage. Now everyone else could see it too. The DEA is very grateful for your help in exposing this operation, Nathan continued, pulling an envelope from his jacket. This is just the preliminary reward. There will be more once all the assets are seized and processed. Vanessa opened the envelope and gasped at the check inside. The amount would easily cover her clinic's debts with enough left over for the new equipment she desperately needed. I can't believe it, she whispered. You earned every penny, Nathan assured her. Your expertise was crucial to building this case. The way you documented everything while maintaining your cover, how you handled yourself during the warehouse raid, it was incredible. Their eyes met, and Vanessa felt the now familiar flutter in her chest. Throughout the investigation, Nathan had shown her nothing but respect and support. He understood her dedication to helping animals, shared her outrage at their exploitation. The connection between them had grown stronger with each passing day. Actually, Nathan said, shifting slightly closer, I was hoping we could discuss working together more permanently. The DEA's veterinary investigation unit could use someone with your skills, and maybe we could explore. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Other aspects of our partnership as well. Before Vanessa could respond, the courthouse doors burst open again. More of Wade's associates were let in, veterinarians who had participated in his scheme, ranch hands who had transported the animals, corrupt clinic workers who had facilitated the operations. The trafficking network was being dismantled piece by piece. Federal prosecutors are pushing for maximum sentences on both the drug trafficking and animal cruelty charges, Nathan explained. Wade's looking at 25 years minimum. The veterinarians will lose their licenses and face criminal charges. Nobody's walking away from this. Max let out a soft woof as James was led past their bench again. He glanced their way, his face twisting with bitter recognition. Vanessa met his gaze steadily, no longer intimidated by the man who had once made her doubt herself. She had risen above his betrayal, built a life focused on helping others rather than serving herself. His downfall simply confirmed what she had known in her heart. She had made the right choice in leaving him. You know, she said, turning back to Nathan with a warm smile, I think I'd like to hear more about this partnership you're proposing, both the professional and personal aspects. Nathan's eyes lit up. Maybe we could discuss it over dinner? Once all this wraps up? I'd like that, Vanessa replied. She looked down at the check in her hands, then around at the procession of criminals being brought to justice. Everything she had endured, the fear, the danger, the moral challenges, had led to this moment of triumph. The clinic would survive. The animals would be protected. And perhaps most importantly, she had found someone who truly understood and supported her mission to help those who couldn't help themselves. Spring sunshine streamed through the newly installed windows of Pine Ridge Veterinary Clinic and Animal Sanctuary. The fresh paint and updated sign outside reflected the transformation happening within. Vanessa stood in the doorway of the recovery ward, watching as Max padded softly between the kennels, stopping to offer gentle encouragement to each recovering animal. The German Shepherd had found her calling as a therapy dog, helping calm other rescued animals who arrived bearing physical and emotional scars similar to her own. Right now, she lay beside a trembling border collie recently saved from another trafficking operation, offering silent comfort through her steady presence. She really has a gift for this, Chloe said, joining her mother. At 16, she carried herself with new confidence, the trauma of their ordeal having strengthened rather than broken her. The collie wouldn't let anyone near him yesterday. Look at him now. The border collie had indeed relaxed, his head resting against Max's flank as she maintained her protective vigil. Vanessa smiled, remembering how far Max herself had come from those first terrifying days after her surgery. The new rehabilitation program is making such a difference, Vanessa said, checking the treatment charts hanging outside each kennel. The specialized program she'd developed for animals rescued from criminal operations had quickly gained attention from law enforcement agencies across 3 states. Nathan says the DEA is referring another case to us next week. Speaking of Nathan, Chloe said with a knowing grin, I saw him bringing coffee and donuts this morning, again. Vanessa felt her cheeks warm. Her relationship with Nathan had evolved naturally over the past months, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. Unlike James, who had always dismissed her work as beneath his surgical expertise, Nathan valued her veterinary skills and understood her dedication to animal welfare. He's been incredibly supportive of the sanctuary, Vanessa said, trying to maintain professional composure despite her daughter's teasing smile. The DEA's resources have helped us expand the rehabilitation program faster than I ever expected. The clinic's transformation had exceeded even her most optimistic hopes. The reward money had allowed her to clear the crushing debt left from her divorce and upgrade essential equipment. But it was the community's response that truly amazed her. Local ranchers donated supplies and building materials for the new recovery kennels. Pet owners organized fundraisers. Even the high school's agriculture club volunteered regularly to help with basic animal care. Mrs. Henderson dropped off more blankets this morning, Chloe reported, opening a storage closet to reveal neat stacks of donated bedding. And Mr. Rodriguez says he can start work on the new exercise yard next week. The solidarity shown by their small Montana community had touched Vanessa deeply. Where she had once struggled alone to keep her practice afloat, she now found herself surrounded by neighbors eager to support her expanded mission. A truck pulling into the parking lot caught their attention. Through the window, they watched Nathan step out, carrying what appeared to be breakfast takeout bags. Max's ears perked up at his arrival. She had grown particularly fond of the agent who helped rescue her. I'll go check on the new arrivals in the isolation ward, Chloe said with an exaggerated wink, heading toward the back of the clinic. Give you two some privacy. Chloe, Vanessa called after her, both embarrassed and grateful for her daughter's easy acceptance of Nathan's growing presence in their lives. Their shared ordeal had strengthened their bond, transforming them from mother and daughter into true partners in the sanctuary's mission. Nathan entered carrying not just breakfast, but also a thick folder. Morning, he greeted them warmly. Max trotted over to receive her customary ear scratch before returning to her therapy duties. Brought the final paperwork from the Morrison case. Thought you'd want to see it. Vanessa accepted both the folder and the coffee he offered. Their fingers brushed briefly, sending a familiar spark through her chest. Their relationship had developed slowly, cautiously, both of them taking time to ensure their professional partnership wouldn't be compromised. But there was no denying the deepening connection between them. The last of Wade's veterinary accomplices pleaded guilty yesterday, Nathan explained as they settled into her newly renovated office. The evidence you gathered was instrumental in securing those pleas. No one wanted to face a jury once they saw your documentation of the animal's conditions. Vanessa nodded, remembering the detailed records she'd kept while pretending to comply with Wade's demands. How are the other rescued animals doing? Most have been successfully rehabilitated and rehomed, Nathan said. The DEA is actually using your sanctuary as a model for handling future cases involving trafficked animals. Your protocols for physical and psychological recovery are becoming the standard. Pride warmed Vanessa's chest. She had transformed a horrific experience into something positive, creating a haven where abused animals could heal and thrive. Through the office window, she could see Max making her rounds, the once traumatized shepherd now confidently helping others overcome similar ordeals. You've built something remarkable here, Nathan said softly, his admiration evident. The way you've turned your practice into a sanctuary, how you've involved the community, developed specialized rehabilitation programs, it's incredible. I couldn't have done it without help, Vanessa replied, especially yours. She met his gaze, seeing in his eyes the same dedication to justice and compassion that drove her own work. Here was a man who understood her priorities, who supported her goals instead of belittling them. Their quiet moment was interrupted by the arrival of the morning's first regular appointments. Through the window, they watched as Chloe expertly greeted clients and directed them to the appropriate exam rooms. The sanctuary work happened alongside routine veterinary care, creating a unique environment where every animal received the attention they needed. "I should get started on rounds," Vanessa said, rising reluctantly. "Will you be back for the afternoon rehabilitation session?" Nathan smiled. "Wouldn't miss it. Someone needs to help exercise all these recovering patients." As he left, Vanessa paused to survey her transformed clinic. Where bills had once piled up on her desk, there were now thank you cards from families who had adopted rehabilitated animals. The outdated equipment had been replaced with modern medical tools. Most importantly, the atmosphere of constant stress had given way to purposeful energy. Through adversity, she had found her true calling, not just treating animals, but healing those who had suffered the worst of human cruelty. She had discovered authentic relationships built on mutual respect and shared values. And she had shown Chloe that principles and compassion were worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Max appeared in the doorway, her mission complete with the border collie for now. She gave Vanessa an expectant look, time to begin their day of healing work. Together, they headed out to help the next group of animals on their journey to recovery. The afternoon sun streamed through the clinic's newly installed windows, casting warm light across the bustling reception area. Vanessa watched with quiet pride as 3 different law enforcement K-9 handlers waited with their partners, all referred by agencies that had heard about her specialized rehabilitation program. "The DEA office in Idaho called again," Chloe said, organizing patient files behind the front desk. "They want to send 2 more rescue cases next week." Her daughter's confident handling of these professional contacts still amazed Vanessa. Their shared ordeal had transformed their relationship from simple mother-daughter love into something deeper, a partnership built on mutual trust and understanding. Max padded over to one of the waiting police dogs, her approach gentle and deliberate. The shepherd's transformation from traumatized victim to skilled therapy dog never failed to move Vanessa. She watched as Max settled beside the nervous K-9, offering silent comfort that immediately helped the other dog relax. "She's better at this than any human could be," Nathan observed, joining Vanessa by the treatment room door. His presence beside her felt natural now, comfortable in a way her relationship with James never had been. "The Portland office wants to model their new animal recovery center on your protocols." Vanessa smiled, remembering how far they'd come from those terrifying days of Wade's threats. "I never imagined our little Montana clinic would become a template for other facilities," she admitted, "but every animal we help proves this approach works." Through the window, she could see the new rehabilitation yards where recovered animals exercised under careful supervision. Local volunteers worked with professional trainers, following the detailed recovery programs Vanessa had developed. The community's continued support touched her deeply, from the ranchers who donated supplies to the retired teachers who helped with administrative work. "Remember when this place was falling apart?" Chloe asked, joining them with a stack of recovery reports. "Now we're turning away job applications from veterinary students who want to specialize in rehabilitation work." Vanessa remembered all too well. The leaking roof, the outdated equipment, the constant worry about making payroll. Now her clinic stood as a beacon of hope, its modern facilities and expert staff dedicated to healing the deepest wounds inflicted on innocent animals. Nathan touched her shoulder gently. "You did this," he said softly. "You took something horrible and transformed it into a force for good." His understanding and support had been crucial to her journey, showing her what true partnership looked like. Unlike James, who had seen her only as an accessory to his ambitions, Nathan valued her expertise and shared her commitment to justice. Max approached with one of their newest patients, a retired police dog struggling with trauma from a violent encounter. The shepherd's gentle guidance had already helped the other dog make significant progress. Vanessa knelt to check their interaction, marveling at how her first rescued patient had become such a skilled healer. "The transformation goes both ways," she observed, watching Max guide the other dog toward the recovery area. Every animal we help seems to find their own way to give back. Just like their doctor, Nathan said with warm admiration. His respect for her work had never wavered, growing stronger as they built both their professional collaboration and personal relationship. Their shared dedication to protecting the vulnerable had created a bond that felt unshakable. Chloe organized the afternoon rehabilitation schedule, her efficiency reflecting the maturity their experiences had fostered. "The new therapy group starts in 15 minutes, she reminded them, and Mrs. Henderson's bringing more volunteers to help with the recovery kennels. Vanessa surveyed her transformed clinic with deep satisfaction. Where there had once been bare walls and worn equipment, now there were success stories, photos of rehabilitated animals with their new families, letters of thanks from law enforcement agencies, certificates recognizing their groundbreaking work. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come," she admitted to Nathan as they prepared for the afternoon sessions. "From barely staying afloat to becoming a model for animal rehabilitation programs across 3 states. You always had this potential," he replied. "You just needed the chance to prove it." His faith in her abilities had never wavered, even during the darkest moments of their fight against Wade's operation. Max returned to Vanessa's side, her mission with the police dog complete for now. Together, they watched the clinic's daily activities unfold, staff members conducting therapy sessions, volunteers working with recovering animals, Chloe confidently coordinating it all. This was what victory looked like, not just surviving threats and overcoming obstacles, but creating something meaningful from the experience. The sanctuary had become more than just a veterinary clinic. It was a place of healing and hope, where the weakest found strength and the wounded found purpose. For Vanessa, it represented everything she'd fought for: professional excellence, authentic relationships, and the chance to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Thank you for watching. If even one moment stayed with you, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be here tomorrow with another story that speaks to the heart.